Many suppose that the Iliad tells the story of the Trojan War, the 10-year struggle between the Greeks and Trojans following the abduction of Helen from Sparta. In fact, the whole poem, which amounts to over 12,000 lines of Greek verse, and which takes around 15 hours to recite, focuses on a period of a few weeks near the end of the war. Of the 24 books, books 2 to 22 cover only 4 days of fighting and a 2-day truce. As the opening line states, the Iliad focuses on the wrath of Achilles, his anger at being denied his due honour, time, by Agamemnon, leader of the Greek forces, and it leads him to withdraw from the battlefield, and the Greeks suffer in his absence. It is only on his return to battle that the tide turns, and he kills Hector, the best fighter on the Trojan side in Book 22. From this point, it is clear that Troy is doomed. Although the episode of the Trojan horse is beyond the scope of the poem, the familiar story of the ultimate destruction of Troy is foreshadowed in the closing books. We are also given a sense of the first 9 years of fighting in the opening books. In Book 3, for example, Helen identifies the main Greek heroes for King Priam as if he were seeing them for the first time, and the first clash of armies feels like an initial encounter between Greek and Trojan forces. The centrepiece of the book is a duel between Menelaus, Helen's rightful husband, and Paris, also called Alexander, the man who abducted Helen and took her back home to Troy. Their agreement that Helen will belong to the winner to avoid a full-scale war would make more logical sense when the Greeks first arrived in Troy. Thus, although the Iliad deals with only a few weeks of fighting in the final year, the concentrated focus on a brief episode conveys the emotional intensity of the whole 10-year campaign. In the opening of Book 3, we see each side advancing into battle, and they are characterized very differently. The Greeks, led by King Agamemnon, who fights alongside his brother Menelaus to avenge the abduction of Helen, are formidable in their silence, discipline and resolve. This picture contrasts with impressions so far in the Iliad of the Greek forces, also known as the Achaeans, the Argives and the Danaians, where the argument between Agamemnon and Achilles has escalated quickly in Book 1, and Agamemnon has come close to losing control of his forces when he decides to test their morale in Book 2. Our first glimpse of the Trojans in the Iliad comes at the end of Book 2, after the huge massed forces of the Greeks have been listed. The Trojans are ruled over by King Priam and Queen Hecuba, but their eldest son, Hector, commands the fighting forces and bears on his shoulders the weight of responsibility for protecting the besieged Trojan women, children and old men. He also has his own wife, Andromache, and baby son to protect. Hector's fighting forces consist of the Trojans and their allies. Hector's many brothers fight alongside him, of whom Paris, the man responsible for bringing war to Troy, is one.